What keeps you going? Where do you get your motivation? Whether you just want to be the best you can be or the best there ever was, we're here to keep you inspired. Conversations with today's top fitness influencers, coaches, athletes, and bodybuilding professionals. This is Inspired Fitness. Here's your host, Sean Feuderer.
This episode is sponsored by Titan Total Training. T3 is the premier health and fitness facility in Central Texas. Locally owned and operated, T3 is a 45,000 square foot destination facility where community matters. Come see for yourself and enjoy a world-class weight room, over 100 group fitness class options, functional training, and dedicated personal trainers. T3, we do community, we do epic, we are T3. You can find T3 on Instagram at T3_gym. That's T, the number 3, HE_GYM. Here we are again with another episode of the Inspired Fitness Podcast. I'm joined today by my co-host, IFBB Pro, Kimberly Helm, along with our very special guest, owner of Titan Total Training in Temple, Texas, Ike Shaw. You can find Ike on Instagram using at Ike_Shaw. That's IKE_SHAW. So hi guys, how you doing?
What's going on?
Fabulous.
So Ike, thanks for being here, man. It's been a long time since we've had the opportunity to catch up, and it's good to see your face.
Oh, yeah.
So tell the audience a little bit about you. Kind of give us your background.
Well, my name is Ike Shaw. I'm from Dawson, Texas. It is a small town of 820 people, maybe. Basically, my background there was, I was known as a football guy. I'm all-state football 4 years in a row, and kind of grew up, in poverty and different things like that. I just kind of taught myself a lot of things down there and just lived that country life. I like overalls, different things like that. I'm that guy. I'm in a city, real small city now, but I'm still a country boy. I still call pants britches, put it that way. I'm just a low-key type dude, understanding community. So I learned a lot about community and not really knew about what I was going to be doing in my later years of life because nobody had gyms there. Nobody had fitness or supplements or anything. So the world I live in today is completely opposite of what I lived in back then.
And you've worked hard for that. So for people who don't know what Texas football is like, it's truly a religion of its own, isn't it?
It is. It is growing up, when I was in 6th grade, like that was a passion to be a water boy. It was like, I'm going to be the water boy for the varsity football team because we couldn't afford to go to the games. And so as like 5th to 6th grade, I became the water boy of the varsity. I worked out with the varsity. I wanted to be better than them, to be honest. And then also just being able to go to those games from varsity basketball, football, basketball, whatever, but especially football. Football, you did not, Friday nights, it was like, it's a ghost town in small towns in Texas, it's big towns in Texas, but especially small towns when you got 800 people, 200 and some of those people that can walk, if they wasn't too old, they was at that game. So it was a time to see, and you wanted to come and make sure those bright lights was all on you.
Oh, yeah. I grew up in Texas for a good portion of my life, and what Belton and Temple combined is maybe 60, 70,000 people now?
It used to be. It's over 100,000 now between both of them.
But those stadiums would hold 30,000 people.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, so your high school passion was football. That carried you into college. You played football at the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor for all 4 years?
Oh, yeah.
What was that like?
Well, I didn't want to go there. When I came for my recruiting visit, I was all-state 4 years in a row, right? I was a big guy in a small town, and I went to all these camps in A&M in Texas and all this stuff at 5'4", running 4.3, 40-inch vertical. I remember when I came to my recruiting visit at UMHB, I said, my best friend was there. I said, I'm not going to UMHB. I'm just here for a visit because it's, free, whatever, free food. And I'm not coming here. I remember just like just laughing at these guys and thinking it was so silly. Never got invited to the bigger schools. I really wasn't that great at test taking, like SAT, ACT, things like that. I never missed a day of school in high school. I never missed a day of practice in high school. I did everything I needed to do. But unfortunately, the schools didn't care about that. They wanted to have them scores. Made it a task of mine to be in the AB honor roll and all that stuff. And it came to the very end, right before 2 weeks before 2 days starting in college football, I had to make a decision. Score still wasn't good. Took the SAT and ACT twice. Just wasn't something I was good at. just with the ADD. Now they got so much medicine. Back then, nobody even knew. Nobody talked about those things. Being, in that world. Well, long story short, I got my test and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Well, Mississippi State wanted me to come, but they wanted me to redshirt. And I knew if I left the state of Texas in redshirt, I'd be back home real quick if I wasn't playing football. Because I ain't gonna lie, doing schoolwork wasn't my passion. I made a decision to stay. And my best friend, I called him. I said, "You think Coach Fred will still take me?" Not even an hour later, Coach Fred called me and said, "What time can you be here?" I said, "As soon as Trina, my best friend, come pick me up." And he drove down there about an hour and a half from Temple, or from Belton, picked me up, told my mom I'm going to UMHB. From that point on, I knew a lot of those guys already because I was cutting hair. So my best friend was there. He was a freshman, but he would come pick me up every other weekend to come cut everybody's hair. So I would cut 50 heads and then he'll take me back to Dawson. And so at the end of the day, when I got to UMHB, it wasn't like something I was excited about. But once I got there, it was like a brotherhood. I remember I'm still really close with about 11 guys that we finished together. We have battled through so much trauma, losing our mothers, losing fathers, having babies. One of them recovered from cancer. There's so many different things that I'm so appreciative and just grateful that I stayed there for 4 years because I learned more than just about football. Football is such a passionate thing, and I learned that in my hometown. But when I got to UMHB as a freshman, bright-eyed guy, we had the biggest recruiting class in UMHB history pretty much until a few years ago. We had over 200 guys come in. And I didn't want to go there. Why? Because the first year of the history of football, of their football season, the football thing, they actually only had, the first year they went 3-7. That was in 1998. 99, they went 4-6. And I was like, these guys suck. Well, my freshman year, I remember my high school coach told me, Ike, if you go here, whatever your team is, that team that changes it. Well, we were. We went 9-1 my freshman year. Didn't get in the playoffs. They left us out. My sophomore year, we won the conference. Then the same thing. We never lost more than 2 games while I was there.
Wow.
And so I think we only lost 5 games in my 4-year career. So at the end of the day, like we did make a big change and we set the bar high. So now they've won 3 national championships. They've won, since I left, 16 conference championships or more. There are people that were rivalries are not rivalries no more because we beat them every year. I mean, it's just not the same, but it's crazy because I was there when we were like hoping to get to those marks because we went to playoffs, we got beat out the first round. Our goal my junior year was like we want to make it to the second round, and that was the thing. Now they're like we're just trying to win the championship. Period. Nothing else. If that's not even important, they'll talk about we're going to win the conference championship. They're really not telling the truth. They really want to win the national championship.
Kim, the interesting thing about this piece of like story is I went to UMHB in 1992 and they didn't have a football team for the years that I was there. It didn't start. I think it was 96, 97.
8.
It was 98.
Yeah, that was the first year. Yeah.
So he comes into this new program and, kind of sets the bar. So I've always thought that was a great piece of his story.
That's amazing. So what, it almost makes me want to wish I was like there at the games because you tell such an exhilarating story about how it all came together. So Ike, what was it that you think made y'all so strong? Like, what do you think it was that turned the tide that y'all did so well?
They brought in a bunch of guys. Like, they wasn't afraid to bring in small town guys. A lot of these big schools, they are schools, period. They want to go get the 5A and 6As. Well, they humbleized a lot of the 5As and 6As. They came, back then, first, it wasn't 6As. They didn't start until probably 12 years ago. The 4A and 5A guys come in from all these big schools, and they thinking they're going to come in because they won a state championship, and they're about to come in and start. But when you got guys like me who self-taught himself how to run a 4.340, who taught himself how to squat 500 plus pounds, you got guys like that like myself and the other guys that will work out after practice, that were studying the plays, that we knew that coming from 2As and 3As that we had to work harder. Those 5A guys not only didn't make it sometimes, they never even, I remember guys leaving in the middle of the night because they got things given to them so much, and they were so good in high school that they didn't have discipline. So when the coaches would be like, we'd be getting our butt kicked. All of a sudden, Be like, man, such and such drove back to Houston. They left at 2 o'clock in the morning. They didn't want to be seen. It was like, why, remember the Titans all over again. Like, man, I'm gone.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. It's like we went from 200 recruits to before the season started. It was over half of those guys gone. Yeah, it was crazy. But I think the main reason why is because those 11 guys that I finished with, man, like we as freshmen, we all played some part. The guys that were there, I say the 1998 and 99 teams, those guys were like the foundation. They actually, it's kind of like being a part of the business when you're never making money and you're not making, you're at the bottom, and you remember you started from the bottom. Now you're here. They were there. They were there getting beat 50-0, 60-0. They weren't part of it. When they brought in some pieces that can come together with their hard work and grind, because some of them guys are really big guys that were just like, when I got there, I was like, dude, is this Lattimore from the program? Our linebacker, Preston Meyer, looked like he had a black visor
On his helmet
the whole time. I don't want this guy to hit me, period. And then we had these other guys that were just like, but they was impressed by me too. I was fast. I was hungry. I worked out extra. I stayed in practice. I'll get there early, leave late. So those guys that finished, we all did pretty much the same thing, but it carried on for years. And now, 23 years later, here we are.
So football is really kind of what started you down your fitness path, right? Getting faster, getting stronger, learning how to compete, be a teammate, build community.
I did a speech. I had to go talk to the football team at my high school about 3 weeks ago. Some guys that I played with in high school went back to coach at my high school. And so they asked me, is it out of nowhere on a Friday, can you come tomorrow on Saturday morning to the scrimmage? And I was like, I got you boot camp. But it was very important for me to let them know. When I got to UMHB, when I was in Dawson, grew up, like I said, in poverty, learning how to overcome adversity, right, was taught very young, meaning my mom would come home, lights would be off. She never worried. She would always say, hey, the lights are going to be off. It's going to be hot, or it's going to be cold, but we're gonna get it taken care of. She always figured it out. She's a situational person. There's no meat, but we got mayonnaise, syrup, or ketchup. What do you want? Get the bread and let's go. I was like, ooh, I'm going to get that mayonnaise. The fattest thing. That was me.
Yep.
But we did those things. And there was times we just get bread. We'd be walking down the street eating bread like chips. I remember those days. I remember having to cut hair to help pay those bills when I was 13 years old, picking pecans and different things like that with my grandpa. Bringing that same effort in, or going to, instead of getting in trouble and going out with the friends that were going out, my mama didn't have to really go looking for me. She knew where I was. I was on the field practicing. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to be the biggest. I could be pretty fast. I could be pretty strong, but I had to overcome all those other things. So I literally got a book out of the library about Barry Sanders and what he did on how he jumped faster. So you remember those shoes with the block on it?
Oh, yeah.
They used to call them jump soles, but I didn't have those right before jump soles, and I couldn't afford them. But I remember in the cheerleading locker room, they had them for cheerleaders, and they were real little like freaking little white shoes, but they had the block on it. And I was like, hey, coach, can I have those? Jump rope, 1,000 a day. I was jump roping. That's why my vertical got so high. But I taught myself how to run, how to jump. We didn't have people, them coaches didn't know how to do that stuff, And so taking that same effort to UMHB made it even easier for me to lead by example down there. But also, of course, we'll talk about business later, but football is everything because of the discipline, not missing practice, showing up early, leaving late, or learning your craft and being good at what you're good at. I wasn't the best at punt return. So I tell coach, listen, you put me on punt return, we're going to lose. Depending on me to block, we're going to lose. But if you want to give me the ball, maybe make a fake or something like that, maybe catch a pass at the backfield, you got an opportunity. I was always good at situation and being good at what I was good at, but I'll do whatever he needed me to do. I learned a lot about discipline and stuff from football.
And you figured out what your strengths were, right? And you rode that all the way.
You just grind on it.
So we get through college and you're living this life of discipline and fitness. Where do you go?
So when I went from football to UMHB, I was thinking like, what am I gonna do? After I got done playing football, when they told us that we didn't make the playoffs my senior year, we went 9-1. They said, sorry that y'all don't get in, because it was a 3-way tie in our conference and we didn't get in. East Texas Baptist got us. And so I was like, what am I gonna do? So I started working out at the gym called Gym X. I was working at Lowe's and just doing part-time work there. I really didn't want to become a coach because I didn't want to do the hours that they do. And I hear coaches and teachers complaining all the time about how much they work and how much money they don't make. So for me, I knew I wanted to do something with sales because when I was working at Lowe's, I always dabbled in trying to sell a lawnmower or a refrigerator. I saw the owner of Gym X while I was working out in their gym, and I saw him and said, "Hey, I was doing lunges because I had made a decision I was gonna get ready for a show." And I said, "You should hire me for sales." He was like, "Why?" I said, "Because everybody knows me." And he was like, "All right, start on Monday." This was like on a Friday or something. So I told Lowe's, "Hey, I'm gonna come to work at this time. I gotta go do this thing." He said, "If you're gonna be good at sales, you gotta become the most popular guy in town. You need to. Everybody should know your smile. They should know your energy. They should know who Ike Shaw is. You need to make sure that is you are the man. If you're gonna be sales, I want a membership. Call Ike." So I made it my priority to be known. I would go to the movie theaters. I would go to the freaking restaurants. I would go to every show, concert. I mean, you couldn't have me. I was doing push-up contests. I was everywhere. And then I had a lot of people, a lot of homeboys that were still local around because of football. I would get them a GMX shirt and I say, "Hey, we going to the mall." And all the girls are like, "Oh my God, look at the boys." And we'll pass out shirts, get guest passes, sign up memberships at the remember Denim and Diamonds?
Oh yeah.
People, I ain't gonna lie, people, I signed up 40 people in one night, a couple nights, because people were like, "Oh man, I'm gonna do it," and they're drunk, whatever. But it was all because he told me become that guy, and then he showed me the way. He gave me goals, and I wanted to just no different from when I was in high school. My number one goal when I got to high school, junior high first. Let's start here. Junior high, my number one goal was to have 10 touchdowns my seventh grade year. I did hit 10 on that. I wanted to have 50 touchdowns in eighth grade. I worked my butt off, and I literally had 50 touchdowns in eighth grade, scoring touchdowns everywhere. Now the last one, coach tried to hold me back. I fumbled on purpose and I took it to the house. And he was like, "All right, why would you do that? You already went about 30." I said, "Coach, you knew my goal and you weren't going to keep me from my goal. Period." It was selfish, but I'm sorry. Then I got to high school and I wanted to literally have, I wanted to beat the all times rushing record at my high school by my sophomore year, which was the guy had 1,600 yards. I ended up getting 1,780 yards. I beat him off for a long run. I beat him on an 88-yard run, boom, pass it. And I ain't gonna lie, people will know this around the world. I said I wasn't gonna break my virginity unless I broke that thing. I also next big goal I wanted to have be the Central Texas all-time leading rushers. Big in Central Texas. You talking about Damon Thomason? I did. I had 6,780 something like that yards in my career, almost 7,000 yards. When I left high school, of course, somebody broke my record now. I was Central Texas all-time leading rusher, period.
Not easy to do in Texas.
So at the end of the day, like those goals I wrote down and I you manifest those things and I literally like put together a plan like, man, if I can have literally I tell them, I said, man, if I have 100 and something yards this game, boom, this team ain't that good. I gotta have at least 300 yards rushing. Like I would scope them out like these guys, their defensive ends is not gonna be able to get to me on this trap. I'm gonna get 300 yards. And so at the end of the day, like those things were set back then. And then it came to when I was at Gym X when the owner said he wanted me to get 120 sales. He said, "I give you $2,000 to get 120 sales." So what I do? I put down a plan. I worked so long, man. I worked night after night. But I wanted to make that $2,000 is huge back then. You're talking about in
Huge
2004.
now.
Yeah. But
Really.
people don't think of it that way no
Yeah.
more. Not calling anybody around my team, but the average person that works for somebody. If you tell them if you go do this, they're gonna say, "Wait, you want me to work for this?"
Yes. Yes. The
And so
hustle is different and the determination is different.
yeah, at the end of the day, it's like you get to get paid all that commission and that bonus of 2,000, and they don't see that stuff.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, that same month when I hit that, I made like almost I don't know 15 grand or so. Like 15 grand for a 24-year-old, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was like, "We're going to Denim and Diamonds, drinks on me," but you know what I mean?
Sean, I can see because Sean, you have the same hustle, right? You have the same drive. You're going to hit a goal. You're going to go for it. You're going to always. You're
Yeah,
not going to sit around. You're not going to wait for it. You're going to go for it. So it's kind of interesting to hear Ike, talk about this too. But Ike, I mean, it sounds like, and like that's where I want to just give your mom a big hug, right? Because she created this wonderful structure for you when you were growing up.
well, yeah, my mom, she's the foundation of me She
Yeah.
was my mom passed away 16 years ago this year. And so when she passed away, it was a big traumatizing thing to me because my mama never graduated from high school. I watched her work for, people always talk about some people say, oh man, people are racist. I'm like, you don't even know what that means. You never had to experience what, like, I remember my mom with this guy, this family my mama worked for, they were so racist. They were like, all the racist names you could be called, like we were called those things.
Yeah.
And my mom still went to the people. There was a mother that was like 90 some years old and her sons were like in their 60s. My mom would go to their house and clean their house, house home care, and they would call her, get your black bud here or whatever. And she, until she died, they all smoked the hell out of some cigarettes,
Yeah.
and they all died from cigarettes. And my mom died of lung cancer. And at the end of the day, it's like, she still showed up. They lived like literally 100 yards from my apartment. So my mama walked there and she would go 5 days a week, but she never complained. Yeah, his name, one of the guys' name was Charlie Wayne. Charlie Wayne probably gonna have something racist to say with his punk ass, something crazy,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day, she still went there. She showed up. She would walk from there all the way across town. She never had a driver's license, never had a car. Walk all
Wow.
across town, go work, do her thing.
What an
Again,
incredible person.
when I remember at her funeral, and I always say I want this when I die one day. I remember when she died on July the 21st, right, of 2007. When she died, there was over 200 people in my house. They knew she was about to take her last breath. She wanted to die at home, and there was over 200 people, and over 50% of those people were white. They respected her drive and her effort.
Yeah.
She didn't even know about football. You know what? People will bring her my clippings from the newspaper, and she was like, "Boy, you had 5 touchdowns." Knew nothing about football. All she knew is that she thought I looked like Emmitt Smith, and she knew X amount of touchdowns. She in football, she was not an athlete. She looked like it. Everybody said, "Where you get the traps from? Your calves?" My mama was stacked. She looked like a freaking, like she played volleyball or softball. Never played sports. But at the end of the day, man, there was just a person that we say this hero. She looked at me. So I have a brother and sister, right? My oldest is my sister. Her name is Tina, and then I got my brother named Alex. My mom always put me in this thing of being like that guy. Like I could take care of it. I could do this. Ike, call Ike. So even when the day she died, it was like, I had to take care of those things and take care of her. Dealing with that when she passed away, it produced a whole nother type of strength,
Yeah.
because watching her battle, I could never forget the 2 weeks before she passed, she had been doing chemo on herself, and the doctor said, hey, actually, she called me to the room and she said, hey, this spot on my back, is it, because she had lung cancer. She said, is there something on my back? Well, the cancer had metastasized. Like it was as big as a softball on her back. And I'm like, so they told us that it's like there's at that time there's nothing else. She had been battling for 10 months, but not even moments later she said, you know what? This is what God wanted. Give me some lipstick. So she got me. So she had this favorite lipstick she liked, and she put it on her lips. And she looked in the mirror and she just put it on her lips. And I took that picture of her
Yeah.
at that moment because she had so much faith in God. Period. Like I'm right with him, and let me get dressed up for this moment. And so 2 weeks later, she just, you're going hospice, and she went downhill. But there's so many things like that, and then of course we'll talk about my car wreck in a little bit.
It's incredible the lesson that you learned through all this, right? Between sports and watching your mom handle adversity and kind of the circumstances that you were put in as a child to be accountable, to be the problem solver. I think when I first met you, you had just transitioned kind of from doing the boot camps in the parking lot to the smaller part of the facility before you expanded. You've been an athlete, you've been a fitness competitor, you've been in many ways a coach and a trainer, not just in your gym, but to other kids. You're now a gym owner, a husband, a father. How do you find time to balance all this stuff?
I mean, I've made this new little deal. Like I have to take care of me first, so I have to take care of my physical and mental health. That you get to a point where I remember a few years ago when my wife and I first found out she was pregnant, and I just bought Gym X, and I started having anxiety attacks so bad. I was like, I'm gonna get my heart chest out. I think I'm having a heart attack. So I remember, like, how it felt like to not know what to do with all that energy, positive or negative.
Right.
I don't know what to do with it. So it's not until like probably like a few months ago, like maybe less than a year ago, about 9 months ago, where I realized, like, if I could make myself better, I could be stronger for my wife and my daughter. I could be stronger for all my members in my community. I could be stronger for a more clear mind. My thing is fitness, right? So it's like, I want to, if you feel better, you look better, or if you look better, you feel better, or all that stuff, like, or instead of like going to the Rib or to the restaurants and going and having drinks. I love golfing, or just going and just drinking on the golf course or different things like that. So I mean, I've literally lost like 32 pounds since December, and
Wow.
so I've like put more into myself at 42 years old, because you're going for the longevity. A lot of people think that I have things figured out, right? Because my fitness community in my gym, I can go talk and pray with about 100 different people in my gym. If I'm having an issue, they could see it on my face. I've talked to some brothers, some guys in the gym that, I mean, I had a $6,100 electricity bill too about 3 weeks ago in my gym, and that was $4,000 more than it was in April. And when you have something like that, I'm sitting back there, and there was some guys that saw me. I was back there just kind of like had my head down. I kept getting upset. I had my head down, and one of the guys walked up to me and said, "Hey, what's going on, bud? Man, you seem like you got a lot going on." And I started, like a little chum, just started bawling. And then I talked to him, and other guys walked up, and then all of a sudden we're praying. This is in my gym, where I'm supposed to be but it was like, I'm always like, have you ever seen the Green Mile?
Oh yeah.
You remember when he was like, he sucked all the problems, the sickness out of the people,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're like, me is like tears, right? So it's like, you hear people stuff in the gym, they're overweight, they're going through this. Somebody committed adultery, somebody did this, and somebody did that, and then all of a sudden it's like, that moment, it was like, I mean, my wife literally had an anxiety attack like 24 hours later. I mean, before that, like, just because she had moved to a new salon spot, she does hair, and I'm telling her it's gonna be all right. But when the moment I got the electricity bill, it was like everything went out the water, and then it was like, I'm working, as a business owner, you work so hard to have to pay bills.
Yeah.
And I think it's the most frustrating thing, because some people think it's like it doesn't defeat me. Like it hasn't defeated me. It can defeat me. I think that's in any business owner's world, but it's no different from fumbling when you only need a field goal. And there's days where, you're doing good, we're about to hit goal. And then all of a sudden you hit goal, but it doesn't matter because your expenses is superseded than what you expected. And so when people ask me about becoming a gym owner, a business owner, I go, why? Why do you want to do that? Because if you're not ready to have to go through a little bit of adversity, and if you think it's going to start out with bells and whistles, money, to own my gym, I have to think about what it was like to be in Dawson, Texas, eating mayonnaise sandwiches. I got to think about what it was like when my mom was walking across the street, because there's always going to be something. In the middle of doing construction, when I bought Gym X, March 15th, what happens? Pandemic. I mean, what are you supposed to? Who plans for a pandemic? On September 4th, 13 years ago, I broke my neck in a car wreck right when I got my truck, Titan, and I dropped it off to this guy named Bill Woodward to do my wrap and do all my stuff in my truck. That same day, I happened to be drinking with my ex fiance and some friends too many hours, and I broke my neck in a car wreck. I was paralyzed for 2 weeks. At that moment, I crossed my arms. I remember friends coming to the house and they were like, "How you feeling?" Like, "Good." I said, "Why you look so bitter?" I said, "Because I'm pissed off at God. He wanted me to be still. So I'm here now." So my tattoo is on me. It says, "Be still, know that I'm God," because he wanted me to be still and let him. I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to do all these things. I was trying to get the wrap on my truck. I was trying to make all these moves, money moves, without actually letting him carry the weight. I've caught myself doing this about 1,000 times since then, and the moment I sit back and go, God, don't break my neck again to prove a point. But at the end of the day, it's like I learned from that situation, but I also wrote down my first 200 boot camps. So while I was sitting there for almost 4 months in a neck brace, those people that was doing my boot camps, I wrote down a plan that I was not going to be outside for long. And I wrote down a plan to open my first building. But I wanted to go into my first building with my first 200 boot camps. I still have them written down on paper in my garage. Those days I remember because I was teaching 9 boot camps a day, all of them. I was outside in the heat at first, then we went indoors, and crazy, Sean. There was 5 a.m., 50 people. 6 a.m., 50 people. 8:30, another 30, 40 people. Unfortunately, since the pandemic, we've had to have we had some adversity too. People have gotten way lazier than they were back then. Fitness is big in America. It's $1 billion industry now, but people are still. I can't say they're scared because that's kind of an easy way out of it. I think that people are still like lacking in the thought that they need this. They need to be around other people, not just working out,
Yeah.
but being around other
Socially.
socially positive energy.
Right.
Mothers sitting at home blaming their kids for their weight gain, blaming their kids for their anxiety. You know, everybody talk about that easy shot, that easy pill. I wish I had a quick fix pill.
Oh yeah.
Well,
That's $1 million pill.
well, now they're doing that now. You know, I got people taking selfies and stuff on Facebook now going, hey, I've lost all this weight.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, look at me.
Yep.
And then I gotta be that guy to go, earn that. And then I go, okay, I'm not gonna be negative. Some people really need it. They feel better about themselves. That's a pot. That's a blessing. But are you gonna do anything with that? Are you gonna go build you some muscles so you won't just have flimsy skin? Or are you gonna go do something with your cardiovascular, get your heart rate going? Do something with your energy, that energy, you know? So I try to be positive in that way now because there's tons of people that used to go to my boot camp that are now you don't even have to ask them more like, what is she doing? Well, they guys now, Sean, you know, they don't try to build up their own testosterone. They don't even try to. They automatically go. They can't go to the doctor no more without. They're even worse now than they used to be. They go to the doctor. Hey, your testosterone is low. Really? Everybody's lower now. They're getting pellets. I can't knock them. But the thing is, who wants to go to the doctor for them to tell them, well, you probably need to get these pellets. Or you probably get the. And dude, I'm 42 years old, and everybody says, man, what would you do if you did on TRT? Well, I don't really want to know. I look better than most of the guys that are on TRT. Not knocking them, but at the end of the day, I feel like people have lost that passion for fitness, and I'm trying to like not just get people back in the passion of fitness. Fitness is not my passion, to be honest with y'all. Sean, you should know this by now. People is my passion.
I know your passion.
I like meeting people. I like the relationships. I mean, some of my dearest friends that was in my wedding were people I met from my gym. If I broke my neck today, like I did my car wreck today, I would have 1,000 people at the hospital. My mama's funeral will have 1,000 people there with me supporting. At the end of the day, it's like I want so bad for people to have an opportunity to be blessed to meet more people, to change more people's lives, not just physically, but mentally, because they love it when you recognize their face and you're like, hey, Jules, where you been at? So that to me is like my number one thing, the fear of coming to this place where they think that everybody's in shape.
Yep.
And they come and be a part of it. Now they're that same person that was nervous is holding the hand of somebody else. And that's where I'm trying to get even more to in the very near future, is get more people in. So I think when I bought the gym and opened up T3 the gym, I think people in the group fitness side, in the class side, sort of thinking like, but is he still about the class? Oh man, that's my passion. I love watching people that was in the back of the room. All of a sudden, they're in the front doing demonstrations for me now.
You started what is now Titan Total Training in a parking lot. It was all outdoors. It was mostly in the mornings. And now you've grown it into this, I'm going to call it a destination facility. Like this is a hell of a facility that you've built. 45,000 square feet, world-class weight room, strength and conditioning. You got functional training or cycling. You've got all kinds of group training options. There's hot yoga. It's absolutely incredible what you've built. I've known you a long time, and I know how outspoken you've been about, your passion for people and community. How would you characterize the impact that community has had on your ability to grow your business?
It was easier before because they protected us. They didn't let the big franchises come in to be the bullies. Now we really is almost like we're here and we're kind of, oh man, he's done so much. Crunch is here. They bring so much to the whatever. They celebrate the small businesses like myself for a moment, and we're having to go figure it out. We're having to go figure it out on our own. It's no different from me playing football, right? In Dawson, having to figure out how to do it. Now we've survived the punches, we've survived the waves. I just feel like, I mean, since you left, man, there's probably been 10 other gyms open up or more. CrossFit gyms, big gyms, Orange Theory, freaking Club Pilates, these franchise names. Every time you look up, somebody's like, I'm gonna go do this on my own. And I'm thinking like, why would you do that? You're not gonna owning something doesn't mean making profit, bro. So for me, it's kind of like just weathering the storm, being a leader in a different way, doing the best at what we can do, getting back to the basics, which is our classes. I don't know. I just think the fitness is still strong. There's keywords now that make people go, I need this. But again, now you're not just defeating fighting gyms. You're fighting doctors. And they don't realize that we're having a not fighting, but we're competing with doctors because they're able to go and do these quick fixes and they're saving time. Now they ain't gotta go work out. Now they can go get a shot. Now they gotta work out. Now they can go get a pellet, or they just okay and comfortable with just losing weight and not really building themselves up in the other ways. So many other ways of working out.
We see that a lot too. Kim and I have talked about this in other episodes, even where it's the shift towards convenience. It's taken over. And so people do want that quick fix. They want that, they want to be able to get the beach body in, a couple of weeks or whatever, do the crash diet. What they don't understand is it's not sustainable, right? You don't get a sustainable result. Without the consistency and the discipline, you're not going to get the long-term effect of that. Plus, there's a certain, I like to call it mental health aspect of developing a fitness routine.
Right.
For me, it's, if I don't get up and get my workout in every day, I don't feel right.
No. I mean, it's every podcast you listen to or motivational thing on YouTube you listen to, they talk about Eric Thomas talks about, millionaires. Everybody talk about being millionaires, and millionaires, all of them get up early. They start their day with working out and doing stuff. Well, there's a lot of people now that are making more money, and I see them, and they're bigger. They're making a ton of money, way more money than me, going on more vacation. But they don't even look at themselves in the mirror anymore because they feel like money is the fix. Like they're making more money, but they're not taking care of their health. Their cortisol levels are high, blood pressure high, and then they don't put it as a priority. And the only way that people now are putting in priority, like they want to save time, not by they don't realize like what it does mental clarity with working out, but instead they're like, well, my wife want me to lose weight or my husband want me to lose weight, shot, and the other stuff. They make it too easy to do that stuff now. I don't know. I feel like when I go on my vacations, my friends they don't even ask this silly. I intermittent fast. Been doing it for about 9 months. They know better than asking the silly question like, "Oh, you really gonna do this?" I'm like, yeah, it's my lifestyle. It's not just I'm working out. Like my lifestyle now is not just owning a gym, but I work out because I got somebody else watching me. My daughter, other members, and all that. I get held accountable by people watching me every day. No different from when I post my scriptures in the morning for my Jesus Calling book. I post those things because every day at least one or two people say, "I thank you. I needed that." Now I needed it first. Everybody's watching social media. They're like, click, 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 looking for a picture of my daughter or my workout or something. Then they see that scripture and they go, wait. I had like again 5 people yesterday. Today I've had a couple. It holds me accountable because I'm like, when I get on my funk, I'm like, man, I'm letting people down. Because sometimes you're like, oh, nah, right now I got this. I'm not talking to you. Somebody needs you, and that's more important to me than just selfishly thinking about myself.
It's really obvious when I'm listening to you talk, Ike, and what a beautiful thing of what you're saying is that you keep going back to the sense of community and the sense of connection that you have with the people. And
Right.
Sean and I have, we've trained many times together. We've gone to different gyms that are around the area, and half the gyms that you can go into, you don't walk in and know who the owner is.
No.
And the owner's hardly not even there. The owner, is behind the scenes and working. And the fact that you can say that, you have 100 people around you who you can sit down and say a prayer with to get through something. You have this established faith and this service that y'all provide to each other as a family, right? that you've been able to build there. That sounds like that. I mean, that makes it so much more personal, and it makes it personable for people to want to come back because they now have a family away from home that they can go to, which is so much different than what a typical commercial gym can provide. Doesn't matter if it's an Orange Theory or a regular, it's not taking anything away from those gyms, but it's really about what you can bring to the table to make it something that gives people a reason to keep wanting to come back.
So during the time when I lived in Temple, Texas, I was going to Ike's gym daily. I usually came to the 6 a.m. boot camps. That was my kind of thing. That was the boot camp in the morning, and then I'd go lift weights at night. It was always the same people, and it was either Ike or James who were leading the group trainings, the boot camps. And man, that's exactly what it was. It was a community. It was a same group of people. Right? Everybody was friends. Oftentimes we would hang out afterwards. We would all come in on holidays. I would do special holiday sessions. Even on Christmas and New Year's, like hundreds of people would come, in the mornings for these free sessions because he was the only one doing them. And he was doing it out of a place of selflessness. Yeah. There was no profit in this. He was spending his time and his money to open his facility and pay those bills for these people to come and enjoy a good holiday workout as a community. It was fantastic. Personally, I think that's a big driver for the level of success that you've achieved, in growing the size of your gym. Last time we talked, it's been a few years, we talked about your member base. Back then it was close to 2,000. How are you sitting today?
About 3,500.
Yeah. See, that's amazing.
Different. It's just different now because you got the gym side, you know what I mean? So we definitely have a lot more people on the gym side than we have on the class side. I would say the class side is about, I want it to be more than 50%, but our class size is about 20% of our business right now. Because since the pandemic, people have felt, instead of going to spin class, I'm going to buy a Peloton bike. Instead of going to book, I'm going to get the mirror. I'm going to get the mirror workout, or they're going to get something on demand. I don't know. Or they just don't do nothing.
You just touched on something that I recall from conversation we had, maybe it's been probably 5 or 6 years ago, but when we were talking about the types of members, I think back at this time we were talking about, I was potentially going to franchise one of your boot camps. And we were talking about the types of members. And the question I asked was about the number of active members versus the number of total members. And somehow that, I don't remember what the percentages were, but somehow that conversation took us down a path of, you didn't really consider people who just paid the membership part of the equation because they weren't there every day.
Yeah, no, because they was one phone call away from counseling. Back then, people would keep paying it $99 and don't care. Right now, everybody's like, heck no, I'm going to cancel that membership. And so those people that 500 might be active, others not. Those ones that used to not be active, but they still are members, they're like, no, I need to cancel it now because I need to save that money to go do whatever. You know what I mean? So they're not just wasting money like that no more. Not even on the gym side. People on the gym side, they're going to do that. They're going to go to Crunch or Planet because they're only $10 a month.
So what's next? What's next for you? What's next for T3?
Next, man, we're going 100% full speed on trying to get the classes back and bigger than what they've ever been. Going full speed at it. The gym side has really been dynamic. It's right there with any other major gym in town or in Central Texas. The classes, what we're doing is we're getting people back in front of me. I'm back, like I said, I'm about to get up in a minute and go put my shoes on and go teach boot camp. So my passion, again, is the energy of people. It makes me feel better. It gives me the endorphins I need. It makes me want to work out harder to make sure I'm prepared for them. There's no adrenaline rush. Like, it's kind of like Michael Jordan, right? He loved to be out there on that basketball court because he know that when people come out there, they go, Michael, my. I love it when people are waiting and they know I'm about to turn up that music and I'm about to give them that kick butt boot camp. Like Labor Day just coming up in the next week. They know I'm bringing the fire. They know it's going to be over 100 people in that class. I already got me a whole new playlist. And I thrive on it. I literally cry almost every time not because you're sad and all that, but just from that adrenaline rush where you're like this is what God wanted me to do. It's like a rapper going and performing in front of 100,000 people, and you know that's your calling. And my calling is to make those people do more than what they even could ever imagine pushing themselves through. But at the end of it, they're giving me dap, and they're gonna all yell with me, "We are T3." But I want more people doing it. I want more people wanting that. And that's my goal right now, today. I mean, I own a glass company too. I bought a glass company in December. So I own a Triple Crown Glass and Mirror. So Also I opened up an IV clinic. So I have an IV clinic right there inside the gym too.
So that's something I've actually been thinking about trying. My wife is a registered nurse. She has friends in this space. Some of them are doing this now. They're doing mobile IV services.
Called Active IV. Well, we started that and it's going steady. It's not where I wanted to be yet because I'm so focused on the other stuff. But the glass company, I don't know if you remember Adam, my best friend, he runs that glass company. I just connect them with all the people that I know in construction and get the heck out the way.
Every good comedian always takes it back to the beginning where Ike was talking about racism in the beginning. Adam is a white guy.
Well, Adam is a white dude, man. He's one of them guys that, I could take him to an all black party and he's like, what up?
I love that.
You got those friends that listen to all my vision and don't get scared. He's like, all right, let's do it.
Well, listen, I know you've got a boot camp to go teach.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for the inspiration. We've talked about discipline. We've talked about adversity. We've talked about how to overcome that. I think this has just been a fantastic to hear your story. For me, yet again, Kim, I think the first time, it's always great to listen to you and to hear what you have to say. I want to see T3 grow. I really want to come back to my morning boot camps. I certainly miss the hell out of that. So we'll say thank you for the conversation. And for our listeners, we'll say, please join us again next time for the Inspired Fitness Podcast. Until then, we're wishing you a healthy mind, a healthy body, and healthy habits.
Thank you for listening to Inspired Fitness, leading you to a healthy mind, healthy body, and healthy habits. To stay inspired, visit us at inspiredfitness.net. That's INSPIRD.net. Until next time, stay inspired.